Hello everybody, welcome to our new stream. We are doing this video on how to file your taxes because a lot of you might not have to file your taxes yet, but you're probably getting close. So make sure you ask questions if you have them. I'm going to jump right in and I will get to your questions when I can. So when you are filing taxes, the first question is, why do you have to file your taxes? And if we think about this, what you're doing when you're filing your taxes is you're actually making sure that you are paying enough money or not overpaying for your taxes. So when you get a job, you're going to fill out a W-4 form. And I'll kind of show you. Let's see here. We got one right here. So this is a W-4 form. And what this is looking at is how much money is your work going to send and withhold for your taxes. So basically, if you have lots of kids, they'll hold more money. These are called dependents because you're going to get some tax breaks and stuff. And so they're just seeing how much money they're going to withhold. Depends on your income and all this stuff. So what happens at the end of the year when you file your taxes is a lot of times you've overpaid taxes. Sometimes you've underpaid, which then you got to pay the federal government. But the point of filing your taxes is to make sure that you paid enough money so that you're not going to get in trouble in the future. Because if you owe the government money and you haven't been paying them, that's typically not going to end very well for you if they catch you. So, and on the flip side, most people are overpaying when you're paying your taxes. So in that situation, you want to make sure that you get your money back. Like this year, I got like $700 to $800 back. Most people get, a significant sum of money back. So that's kind of the reason why you pay your taxes. On top of that, you have a deadline of April 15th. So most people will wait until April 14th to file their taxes. In my opinion, you should get on this right away for multiple reasons. One, because if you file right away, so you can file as soon as you get your documents. You tend to get your documents mid to late January from your workplace. You get some college documents. We'll talk about other forms you get. But if you file early, you get your money earlier. Especially this year with coronavirus, it was very beneficial to file your taxes early because the IRS has to do all of the things about getting people their money during this crisis, and it's going to be slower to get your tax returns probably back, and just all of that takes time, and you want your money as soon as possible. So in my opinion, file it as soon as you get your documents in January or in February. But that's kind of why you're filing, just to make sure you didn't overpay or that you don't owe the government money, so you don't get in trouble later on. For most of us in this class, our parents are probably still claiming us as dependents. So this is kind of what you're filling out when you're looking at that W-4. How many people depend on you and your income? And so if your parents are helping you with college, they will probably be claiming you as a dependent. They get some tax breaks for that. So you might not need to, but this will be good information if you do have to file your taxes at some point. So I already see a lot of questions. I'm going to keep going because a lot of these I think are going to be answered, and then I'll double up, come back around when we come back. So first, just the taxes that you're actually paying that are coming off of your paycheck. So you have income tax. If you work for any company, they're going to automatically take some state and some federal taxes. Again, you're normally overpaying. So what you'll see typically when you actually file is you're typically going to get money back. Maybe you overpaid the state by $300 and you overpaid the federal government by $600. And so you're going to file a state and a federal tax return, and then you'll probably get like $900 back, or who knows what the number is. Depends on how much money you made and how much was taken out. But when you do file, you're going to be filing both of these at the same time. If you worked in multiple states, things get complicated because then you have to pay multiple state taxes. So you're paying those taxes, and then you're also paying FICA taxes, Social Security, Medicare. I don't think people usually overpay on those. So again, I'm not a tax expert, so don't hold me to too high of a standard, but this is just good general information. So those are your taxes there. Now let's look at the forms, because the forms are quite overwhelming if we don't break them down. So if we're thinking about what you need to file your taxes, at the bare minimum, you need these two. So if you just have a job, you need a W-2 form. your job will send this out to you. I actually have a picture of a W-2 form, which is right here. So this kind of shows how much money you made this year, just different values like that, how much taxes you paid. And that's just confirming with the government what you actually owe. So you need a W-2. Your work, again, will send you that either in paper form or in email form. And then you need your social security number, because this is how the government identifies you. Let's bring this back down. So that's how the government identifies you. Everybody's going to need at least these two things. If you're self-employed, you might not get a W-2. That's where you get like a 1099 form. There's a lot of different 1099 forms. So if you're self-employed, you're going to have to take care or keep track of your own income that you're bringing in and then pay taxes on that. So that gets a little more complicated. We won't go into that today. So again, W-2, social security number is what you need. For most of you are students, and students also have this 1098-T form. And what this is colleges send this out, and you get money back and you get tax write-offs based on you going to college. So I'm not sure how it works if your parents claim you as a dependent, if you need this, but if you are claiming yourself as a dependent, then you will need this form. And this gets you tax deductions, so you can save money that way. You get more money back in the long run there. Also, if you have a job where you don't get health insurance, like myself, and you are on the Affordable Care Act, the Marketplace health insurance, then you need a 1095 form, and your health insurance will send that to you. The reason why is because you need to prove that you have insurance, because the government was fining people if they weren't paying for insurance. They don't do that anymore. But if you make more money than you expected, the government will charge you more for your health insurance at a later date, which, it does help people out if they have low income, they don't have to pay for health insurance. But if you accidentally make a lot of money, and a lot could be, $60,000, you sometimes are going to have to pay a lot more on your health insurance. So nowadays you do have to have this if you don't have, employer insurance. And then we have these 1099 forms. If you're investing and you're getting dividends, your investing company will send you those. 1099B is a capital gains. So if you're trading stocks or trading cryptocurrency, you're going to need to fill out a 1099B or a 8949 document. This is going to sound really complicated right now, so don't get too confused here. I'm just trying to go over an overview. When you fill these out online or however you do it, they're a lot more simplified. So the main thing before you start filing is get that W-2, know your social security number. If you're a student, you might want to look for this number, this 1098-T. If you're on the Marketplace for health insurance, which you'll know if you have to because you got to apply every year, you'll get a 1095. And then any investing stuff you may need down here. So taxes can get quite complicated. The older you get, the more things you got going on. But if you start out when you're young and you just start out with the W-2 and Social Security, you slowly gain the skills necessary. So now let's look at filing your taxes. I see lots of questions. I'll get to those in a second. So when you're filing, you have a few options. So we've all probably heard of a 1040 form, even though we might not know what it is. A 1040 form is just the form that you are actually filling out when you are filing your taxes. So here's a picture of the 1040 form. It's quite long. There's like Schedule A, Schedule B, Schedule C, Schedule D. These are just new sections of the form. So you can fill it out by hand. You can just print it out on the internet, and you can write it all in, and you can mail it to the IRS. In my opinion, I've tried to do this before. It's quite overwhelming, but that was because I was trying to figure out my dividends, and I was young and I didn't know what I was doing. So that can be quite complex. I don't recommend this for most people, unless you just want to try it out, learn, and maybe you can make it work for you. My recommendation for most of you guys is going to be just to do an online tax return, H&R Block, TurboTax. A lot of these have free services if you don't have a whole lot of documents to upload. So if you're just doing a W-2 and a school form, and maybe your IRA or something, which we'll talk about in a second, then you don't have to fill out a whole lot of forms, and it's probably going to be free. Where you have to start paying is if you're working in multiple states. You got to file multiple state taxes. If you're self-employed and you're filing a bunch of different write-offs and stuff for your business or whatever, or lots of investment stuff, then you might have to start paying for these free online H&R Block, TurboTax solutions. But for the most part, they're free and they're very easy to fill out. I was going to just do the TurboTax filing because I've already filed, but I haven't filed through TurboTax, so I was just going to show you guys. Unfortunately, I got too far in the process, and so it didn't allow me to go back and show you guys what I wanted to show you. But it's very easy. It just asks you, did you go to school? So check those out. It's a good place to just get started and get your feet wet. And even if you start and you decide you need to go into a building and have somebody help you, it doesn't matter. You can just not finish it online. So I recommend starting there. Paper form is intense. And if you're just overwhelmed, what I recommend is going in person. There's all kinds of, H&R Block is where I've gone before, but there's all kinds of places that help you file your taxes. And what they do is you go in there and they will do it all in front of you, do it for you. I mean, sometimes you can hand your stuff to them and they'll do it later, but that's typically like if you have like a tax accountant. A lot of your parents might have tax accountants because they don't want to mess with it. But in my opinion, when you're young, it's good just to kind of learn, get your feet wet before you get, like if you're running a business, you might need somebody to file your taxes because it gets intense sometimes. But you'll just bring whatever forms you need. So, if you're a student, you'll bring in your W-2, you bring in your 1098. And if you are covered with health insurance with your parents, you don't have investments, then that's all you need. And they can help you out there. When I was doing this with some investments and stuff and I was confused, I went in, I had multiple states to file as well. It ended up costing me like $400. Usually the fee is usually over 100. So I'll say 200 to 300 for most people. The more they have to do, the more expensive it can get. So online, it can be like $60 if you have multiple state filings. So yeah. All right, I'm going to get to some questions and then we're going to talk about some deductions here. So let's see what we have. Is it worth paying someone to do your taxes? Sometimes, yes. And like I was just explaining, what I did was I paid somebody to do my taxes 1 year, and then I went there and I learned from them the whole time. I was paying attention, asking them questions, and then from there on, I've been able to do my own taxes. So paid $400, learned some things, and now I can do it for free for the most part. Why didn't they teach us taxes in high school? Yeah, I know. That's why I decided to do this video, because schools aren't doing a great job of teaching this stuff. And it's kind of a thing that you're going to have to do, so you need to learn. So you get good at it through repetition. Parents can teach it as well. So good question. I don't have an answer, but I'm trying to make up for it. So what's the best way to go about doing taxes while a college student? Like I just said, I think the online version is good. Make sure, though, that your parents aren't claiming you. So talk with your parents before you start doing the stuff. And if you want to start filing your own taxes, talk with your parents and say, hey, I want to be my own dependent, right? And I want to start filing my taxes. You probably have to have a job and stuff before you do that. So what do you do when you're an international student? Do you have any advice? Oh, that's a good one. It depends if you're working here or not. I don't have any knowledge on how to file taxes for international students. So if you're not making income here, I don't believe you have to file taxes. Although if you're getting scholarship to come here, that actually might count as income. So sorry, I can't help you on that one. How do people overpay? Okay, so the reason why you're overpaying is, where's my sheet here? So this W-4 form that you fill out, it's just an estimation. So they actually changed the W-4 form, so it's a lot better now. Back in the day, 2 years ago, the W-4 form was fairly outdated, and you were, at least me, I was paying a lot over in taxes, which felt really good when I got to the next year because I had huge refund checks, like $2,000. But that just means I had paid $2,000 that I could have been using that whole year. So they've made the W-4 form better. I think as of 2018, it's more accurate now. So I only get like $700 back. Still overpaid by $700 because it's not perfect, right? Especially with my job, because I'm on a contract basis. I don't work for parts of the summer. And so the government isn't good at estimating exactly how much money they should take out. It's a messy system. I think in the future, everything will be digitalized and things will be easier. But that's why you overpay. It's just the government is trying to estimate how much you're going to owe. And they typically want to overestimate because you might not budget to pay the government at the end of the year. And so if you didn't budget for that, people get angry at the government. So they're like, well, we'll just take more money from you, right? And then we'll give you more money back, makes you feel better, and then you're not getting yourself into a situation where you got to pay into the government. So I think that's why people overpay. Okay, how long does it take to complete the process? You can do it fairly quickly. So if you have all your documents on TurboTax, I'd say 1 to 2 hours and you'd be completely done. So it's fairly easy once you get the hang of it, but gathering all the forms sometimes can be difficult. Although, again, as a student, you guys are probably just getting that W-2, Social Security number, and that 1098-T. Okay, how do deductions work? Give me 1 second. Actually, let's talk about that. Yeah, deductions. Okay, so good news is the tax situation has gotten easier and better, in my opinion, with our most recent tax cut. So when you're looking at deductions, everybody gets the standard deduction right here. And what this means is, well, yeah, so what this is your first $12,200 that you make, they are not going to be taxed with federal and state income. And the reason why you do that is to help out people in the lower income brackets, because this is kind of a very lowball number of how much it takes you to survive per month. So about $1,000 per month. And we don't want to be taxing people on what they need to have to survive. So before the tax cuts in 2017, the standard deduction was only $6,000. And so what you had happen was standard deduction was $6,000. People who knew how to do and take different deductions were getting larger deductions than people who didn't know how to take these deductions. And so it was kind of penalizing people for not understanding the tax code or not having enough money to pay a tax person. So they bumped it up to $12,000, which I think is really good. And that takes care of most of your things. So most people don't need to think about deductions at all, especially most of you. You just file your taxes. You're typically not going to have deductions over $12,000 in case you had like major medical issues or something. And so everybody gets that deduction. And then this is another reason why you get taxes paid back, because you paid taxes on that $12,000 that you made. And then at the end of the year, they're like, oh, we're not going to charge you taxes for that. Here's some money back for you. So there is the beginning of deductions. And what deductions are doing is they're lowering your taxable income. So let's say, move down here to some other ones. Let's say you bought a home and you're paying interest on your house. So you take out a loan from the bank when you buy a home. You have to pay interest, which is like you paying a fee to borrow that money. And the interest payments that you're making, the government deducts that money because they want to incentivize people to buy homes. So you get some home deductions where they might decrease your salary because you're paying interest on your home. You have a health savings account, and which I kind of do like this. If I made more money, I would be filling this out. I forget the exact number. You can put about $3,000 as an individual into. It might be higher. It's higher for families for sure. What a health savings account is it's just an account that says this account is only used for medical fees. And so if you made a lot of extra money and you want to put your money somewhere, you can deduct the money you put into a health savings account, and it's not counted as income, so it is not taxable. So if I was making like $50,000 a year, I would be maxing out my health savings account. I'd be putting in as much as I can because it's going to lower my tax rate. You also have educational costs that you can write off. So if you're taking out loans, the interest that you're paying on those loans, you can write those off. So if you have a loan company, they will send you a form that you can enter in. There's also some other forms like that 1098-T form that'll save you some money on your educational costs. Again, all those online things will walk you through all this stuff. They'll ask, did you open up a health savings account? Do you have did you go to college this semester? We have one more major deduction. This is an individual retirement account. At 3 today, I'm going to be talking a lot more about this in more detail. We have a Roth IRA and a normal IRA. A Roth IRA is not tax deductible. It is deductible when you retire and you pay your taxes. Typically, that one is going to be the way to go. And this is your just standard IRA. You can put $6,000 in a Roth IRA and you can put $6,000 in a standard IRA per year. So with this IRA, you can also write off more deductions if you put money into this retirement account. So again, the government is trying to incentivize people to invest for retirement so that they're okay in the future. So, with all these deductions, you can actually save quite a lot. So at some point in your life, if you don't want to, like, the online things will do a pretty good job of taking care of all this for you. But if you start getting investment accounts, and maybe you're going to school and you're buying a house and you have a house savings account, and that's overwhelming, paying somebody to do this sometimes will get you more money in the long run, because they know more deductions that they can take for you. So that's kind of deductions. Let's get back to your questions here. So that's how deductions work. They're just basically decreasing your income. What is the difference between a tax credit and a tax deduction? A tax credit and a tax deduction. I don't know exactly what a tax credit is. I have heard of tax credits, but I don't know on that one. They might be just two different words for the same meaning, but sorry, I don't know on that one. Is one of the ways to file taxes safer than the others? Which do you prefer? So I wouldn't say safer necessarily. If you're doing a paper one, your data is not going to be on the internet. Although if you're entering it into the internet, the website's pretty secure. Where you get into problems is if somebody steals your social security number, then that'll often cause problems, because if they pretend to file a tax report in your name, then you can run into issues. So I don't think there's anyone that's safer. In person, you might save more money because they might know more things. But if you don't have a whole lot of stuff going on, like I just showed you with those deductions, it's probably just easier and better just to file online, and then you're good to go on that. Can you still get in trouble for not doing your taxes, even if you're never underpaying? Great question. So I don't know 100%. I don't think so. I don't think you are legally required to file your taxes. I could be wrong on that, so don't just take that. But if they audit you, which is the IRS, they kind of see some funny business going on, or sometimes it's just random, they will want 7 years of your tax returns. So you want to save this information. If you have like a safe or just a drawer at home, you want to save all this documentation for the future. If you have a business, it gets a lot more complex. So in my opinion, you should be filing your taxes. I would not. And I would assume that there might be penalties for not filing. But most of the time you're going to get money back. So you should file, because you're going to get, a couple $100s at the least back typically. Okay, so if your parents claim you, can you dispute it? Potentially. So if your parents are claiming you as a dependent and you want to be your own dependent, I don't know how that works legally. That would get into some legal stuff. You could claim yourself, hopefully they're not doing it maliciously, right? But I don't know on that. Good question. If they're doing it maliciously, right, which hopefully not, that wouldn't be a good situation, but you could just file it on your own, and I would just file it early and then go with that. And then if they're claiming you as a dependent, they could maybe get in trouble for that if you're claiming independence. So I don't know exactly how that works. Again, I'm not a tax expert, but good questions. Does it help to have a parent help you? Yeah, so if it's your first time, your parents have done this a lot, I assume. So ask them, they'll help you out. So. Heart, appreciate it. Are there any benefits for filing taxes early? Yeah, so we kind of covered that, but the earlier you file your taxes, the quicker you get paid. So I would recommend filing them right away, especially because if something like coronavirus happens, then the IRS is slammed with trying to get payments out to people, and then you can't get your money out of the system because they're overwhelmed, and everybody files late, so then they got to look at everybody's taxes. So I recommend filing as early as possible. So, all right. Well, that's all we have. If you have any more questions, go ahead and ask, and I will answer them in the chat. But other than that, we are done. And if you are interested in more investing information, I will be streaming that at 3 o'clock today. Thanks for watching.